this lesson we're going to talk about changing the strings, but also changing your left hand. And what we're going to do is going to break up the measure into two halves. We take the pie and we're going to cut it right in half. So now that we've mastered, in the last time we did a lesson about playing, A, D, 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 G, G. Now we're going to combine this with some of the things that we learned about the left hand. So what we're going to do is going to push on the A string, and then we're going to put our first finger on the second fret. So the push bow will be open string, no fingers. The pull bow will be one finger down. Then we're going to do the same thing, cross the third, fourth, fifth string, land on the sixth string, and we're going to push. And then instantly for the pull bow, we're going to put down one finger on the second fret. Then we're going to cross string 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We arrive on the top string, and we're going to push the bow. And for the pull bow, we're going to add one finger on the second fret. When we finish that, we're going to cross string 2, 3, 4, arrive on the fifth string, push, then we add one finger on the fifth G string on the pull bow. Remember, we push the instrument forward and we pull the instrument backwards as we change strings. Now what's different about this than when we did without putting our fingers on is instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 beats for each bow, we're going to only have 2 beats for each bow. So what I'm going to do is turn the metronome on again at 67. Actually, that's at 77, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. There we go, 67. So, you ready? Push, 2, pull, 2, push, 2, pull, 2, push, 2, pull, 2, push, 2, pull, 2 again. A, B, D, E, D, E, G, A. Second string, add finger. Sixth string, add finger. Top string, add finger. Fifth string, add finger. Notes are A, B, D, E, D, E, G, D. Turn the metronome off. So this exercise also you do in front of a mirror as usual. First rule, and I'll keep talking about this incessantly, do you have a sound like the big bell in the Saint Germain Church in Paris or whatever church you're in, or a big, big, big bell? Secondly, is your bow parallel and at 2 inches from the bridge? Thirdly, is your wrist closing while you're pulling and opening while you're closing while you're pushing and opening while you're pulling? Look at this very carefully in a mirror to make sure that you're doing that. Now, for the left hand, remember, 1, the thumb should be always opposite the middle finger. That's Saint-Colombe's technique. Not the first finger, not the third finger. So make sure your thumb is opposite your middle finger. In this case, your thumb is going to be underneath the third fret. And if you look at the viol carefully, look at my viol, get up here, get a close up, you notice that it's really worn out here because that's where it's called the first position, and we play mostly here. The half position, if we use less, is less worn out. That's just my thumb moving back and forth. And you notice that in all viols that people play often, that this part is worn out. That's because the thumb is opposite the second finger and not the first finger. So when you're practicing, again, make sure thumb is opposite the middle finger, your fingers are round and not flat. Your fingers are not in this position, but parallel to the frets. So you could play this exercise with the metronome in front of the mirror, the same thing as the last exercise. First time, with a metronome, check to see if your fingers are round, thumb opposite the middle finger, fingers not on or between, but just before each fret. Second time, go through it, make sure your bow, as we said, is parallel to the bridge, 2 or 3 fingers from the bridge, wrist flexible, closing on pushing and opening on pulling. And of course, the last step is always to play the whole thing with your eyes closed and hear if the sound is beautiful. Please keep the metronome on, because as you're practicing alone, the minute that you have to play with other people, if you haven't figured out how to calculate time, you won't be able to play with other people. So it's very, very important to use the metronome. Some people say, well, it's a historical instrument. Well, actually, the metronome was used as early as Thomas Mace, which is 1678. They had sort of a pendulum to do this. And later, Lullier, who was contemporary with Saint-Colomb, invented a kind of metronome. So playing in time has been important, at least since the viol's heyday. So have fun, practice carefully, make sure you master this, and then we'll go on to the next lesson.